Welcome back to CS275 Database Development. We're now going to go over joining data. So in this, we're going to talk about the different types of joins and understanding what they are and what a join is and how it works, and then be able to actually join two tables together using this SQL that we learned, right? So our course objective is for you to be able to take two tables and then make this join with that data. All right, what are the different types? Well, you have inner, left, right, and full. So technically this is outer, outer, outer. But let's look at a graph to kind of see what we mean by this. And with this, a full outer join, right? So the full join is you are just adding both those tables, all the data together. Doesn't matter if there's overlap or not, you're just getting a whole bunch of data. So think of it like if it was an Excel spreadsheet, you just have all the data over and over and over again. A right join will take it so table 2 will get anything that crosses over, right? So if there's data in table 1, then and it relates to pieces of table 2, it'll pull that data in as well. The inner join is only the data that is actually together, and we're going to do an example of this one in a little bit. And then the left join is table 1 and again whatever table 2 has that relates. And this is where we go back to that relational databases. And that this relation here is normally some kind of ID that you have. So table 1 might be customers, and then table 2 might be purchases. And then what you do, every single purchase is going to have an ID number of who bought that, right? Who did the purchase. And that's the overlap, right? So you might have 100 customers and 50 purchases, and not every customer has a purchase. Or heck, you might have 200 purchases and still not every customer actually made a purchase, right? So this inner piece right here is not going to not be on both of it, right? You don't need all the data. So what this will allow you to do, right? Going back to the purchase, if these are all purchases, right? This table probably doesn't have the name of the customer. So this table right here has purchase 1, hot dogs, purchase 2, chips, right? And it'll say the purchaser is 1, right? So he bought hot dogs and he bought chips, and then this person bought a pizza, and then it'll be 2, and really kind of over here. But so what you'll see is, all right, purchaser 1 is actually little Johnny. So when you put this together, it'll say little Johnny purchased blah 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 blah. We don't need little Johnny's phone number. We don't need little Johnny's address, right? Because that's what's in the customer information. We just want to pull over little Johnny is the person who bought this, right? So that's the join. And, you know, maybe Sally didn't buy anything, right? So she's not in this join, right? So those are a talk. Now, honestly, I don't really know other than the way you write it. Because if I write it so that this is table 1, in table 2, I think left and right joins are only different by the fact that you write them a certain way. But the key is the way you do it, right? If this is my main table, left join will give me all of this. If this is my main table, right join will give you all of this. That's basically what you need to understand about that. Not that you couldn't just make this table 2 and then do a left join and all of a sudden you've made this same right join. All right, so let's look at the code for this. They're pretty much the same, right? Just what you put here, for the most part, is what's going to happen here, right? So the code would be the same. If I did something else, it'd give me more data here. If I wrote the left join, it'd give me the data over there, right? So let's just look at the simple inner join. Now, one thing you need to understand about doing this, because we are working with two tables, and sometimes you might have the same column, right? The up and down column name. You need to put the table name dot column name. So my orders table, this column. My customers table, this column. Orders table, this column. From orders, right? So that is my table 1. My table 1 is orders. And then inner join, the other table. So inner join gives you the table 2. That's how you know what table 1 and table 2 is. Table 1 is the from. Table 2 is the inner join or whatever other join you're using. And then here's the kicker, right? On. In this case, orders customer ID, customer's ID, right? So this is a table, this is a table, so these will equal this, right? So again, this is pretty much what I kind of said, except for backwards. So little Johnny is over here, his ID is 1, he made an order, and his ID is 1, and this will give all the information for the order over here, and then all the information for the customer over here. And in an inner join, it's just probably going to say this is the order and this is his name, and not have all the order details and all the personal information. Again, a lot of the times it's nice, simple. You just want that little comparison. But you could, in this case, this would be all of little Johnny's information and a little bit of order information. In this case, it's, all of the order information and a little bit of Johnny's information. So let's go ahead and see what that actually looks like. So again, as a reminder, I have my user table, I have my Doge table. Now, I just went ahead and called this 1, right? So this is my users, this is the ID of them. Now here is where this is important, right? Owner ID 1. So John Doe, he owns these 2 dogs, right? Owner ID is 4. John Wick owns this dog. So this is the key to what we're kind of looking at here, is these numbers over here match up to here. That's how we do the joins. So let's go ahead and look at an inner join. We'll talk about it as we go. It's very similar to the example I showed you. So select user ID. So it's going to get the user ID, Doge name. All right, so it's going to get this column. And now I'm going to call this Doge name because we don't want to get confused with person's name and last name. And the user's duck nickname, so it's going to grab the nickname as owner nickname. So basically we're going to see Doge name, and then we're going to see owner nickname as the column headers from users. All right, so this is table 1, join, inner join Doge. Table 2 on user ID, right? User ID on owner ID, right? I'm not doing Doge ID, right? Because these IDs are not related to these IDs, right? These are the owners. This is a separate column. So when I enter this, again, it's going to give me minimal data. I click enter in the right spot. So again, I ask for ID, Doge name as Doge name, user's nickname as owner's nickname. So ID, Doge name, owner's name, and then we only wanted the data, and that is the inner join concept, right? The inner join concept, we only wanted the data that is in both of those. So in this case, we can see that only owner ID of 1 and 4 are the ones that have this, right? So we could again play with other things and get different types of data sets. But again, it's important to make sure that you have all of the correct terminology to do it. And again, some of these, there's no overlap. So as you're going through this, that gave us the same data. And in this case, so here's a good example, and this is why you need to know what you're doing. So we did a left join. Left join means I get all of the owner nicknames, right? I get all of the owner nicknames regardless. So there's 2 Doges, so that's why we have Joe in here twice, right? There was 2 dogs, and if there would have been more dogs, then other people would have been repeated. But see, there's null because these people don't actually have any dogs, right? So again, an example of just kind of understanding what this did. Let's go ahead and I'll pull this up and help us see. Left join, right? All of table 1, right? All of the owner nicknames. It gave me all of the owner nicknames, and it gave me the Doge names, but only of the Doge names that there's actually one there for them, right? And it didn't give me the ages or anything like that because it did not have a full join, right? So that is pretty much it for this lesson. This is the last lesson on really getting data from a database. Next lesson is going to be on how to Use a GUI, so do it the easy way, but you first need to understand, especially if you're going to program, because as a programmer you use this code. You might use a GUI to kind of develop your web database, but you need to understand this code, right? So that's why we've done what we did. You need to understand how this is working, why we do what we do, and you'll get some practice with that. But with that, that's the end of this lesson. We will see you next lesson.